After my last engraving video, one of our viewers asked if the same type of photo test could be created in Lightburn. Specifically, how to create a material test array for photos inside Lightburn. Yes, material test arrays is something that you can do within Lightburn. But when you want to use your own photos, Lightburn doesn't make the process nearly as simple as some of the newer software out there. So today I'm going to show you how I build a photo test array in Lightburn. And I'll share with you my steps to find the right settings for both painted canvases and SLATE. There's a little more setup involved, but at the end of the day, it can save you from wasting a full project on the wrong settings. So let me show you how I set it up. So we are here inside Lightburn now. One of the first things I like to do while I'm here is to double check to make sure that I have the latest version of the software. So why don't we try it? Go to the Help menu up here on the top and navigate down until you see Check for Updates. Pretty straightforward. I'm up to date, so we're good to go. But if you need to update your software, do it now, pause the video, we can wait. Right, with that out of the way, let's just create a quick material reference. So we're going to use this little rectangle here on the left, and we're going to create something that mimics a SLATE tray. This is what I've been using lately. A 20 by 20 centimeters SLATE tray. So that's 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters. Now make sure that that aspect ratio there is not locked. Many of our lasers don't come with cameras, so this reference square or rectangle will make sure that we stay within the machine. We're going to import our photo. Right, we're going to bring it into Lightburn. Now, I downloaded this little pop from Creative Fabrica, and I'm really hopeful it's not going to get me in trouble this time around. So if you've seen my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. Because of the picture quality is very high, the picture is huge. So we have to adjust its size to fit inside our canvas. So we're going to resize it there to make it a little more manageable. I love this pop. This is not a real pop. Links in the description. Now we double check our image and we're going to adjust the settings there. We're going to use the grayscale mode. You have a few options like Jarvis and the like. Let's keep it default. Grayscale will do just fine for this test. For the line interval, that's another number that I would normally check. But for slate stone on a 40-watt laser, 0.08 has worked very nice for me. You can adjust the contrast there a little bit or the brightness if the picture is not bright enough for you. But just do it enough that it looks nice to your eyes. Just don't overdo it. I often don't really mess with that, but it's up to you. Now, because we're engraving on a black stone or a black canvas, you also need to make sure that you understand the whole inverting or negative image setup. And here you can also save this as a preset if you're going to be engraving often enough, so you don't have to keep remembering those settings. Now, when it comes to the testing, I normally don't engrave the entire picture. I select a portion of the image that I think has got a little bit of everything so that I can focus on that. Often, the eyes. Now, the eyes are very useful because they contain, the highlights, some of the shadows, the edges, the fur, and the fine detail. And in this case, you got some lighting there, you got the frames, and all that good stuff. So it's a very representative area that is good for testing. So we're going to crop our image, and within Lightburn, cropping, it takes a couple of steps. So we're going to use another square, another rectangle, and we're going to draw it on top of the eye area there. Once you're satisfied with the general location, you can select both the picture and your rectangle, and right-click on that selection and click on Apply Mask. What applying the mask does is basically hiding the parts of the photo that you don't want to work with. You can reposition, resize it. You still got a lot of editing space here. There's another option, which is crop. You select your image and select the square, right-click and select crop, and from there, you're basically done. There's no more editing. So that's why I like to apply the mask first, resize what I need to, and then when I'm done, I right-click again and select Flatten Image. Now the editing is done, basically. You can still resize it, but that's about it. All right, let's get to the array now. Select your image and click on the Create Array tool. Set the number of your columns. I normally use between 5 and 10. The more columns and rows that you have, the more variables you have to test, which is good, but it's also going to take a little longer to engrave. That's a total of 5 power variations, if you will. Another setting that you can change here is the spacing. I keep it to 5 millimeters because this is what I normally use in some of the other software. There's an option here at the bottom that's called Group Results. If you check it or uncheck it or toggle it on or off, it will group the new array that you created or keep it ungrouped. I normally turn this option off because I like to manipulate each individual photo rather than having to deal with ungrouping and all that good stuff. It's just a preference. Now, the next step is a bit of a shortcut, and it will indeed save you some time. We need to look for the shape properties down here at the bottom. If you don't have it, you can turn that panel on by right-clicking the red portion of the menu here on the right, and then you select Shape Properties. Or you can find it up on the Window menu and look down there, Shape Properties. So each of these images is going to get a different power scale. That's the number that you will apply here. For power, normally when it comes to a 40-watt laser, I tend to range between 40 and 60%. So the first picture gets 40, the next one there 45, the next one 50, you get the drift. Then 55, and then 60. I'm just playing here with easy numbers just to make it easy for us to go through the example. Now, these are just test values, right? These are not guaranteed final settings. Not at all. We double check that every image has the correct power scale before we move on. Yep, it all looks pretty good. All right, solid. Now we get to add the rows to our array here. So select the completed row. Again, we click on Create Array here on the left. Now we're focusing on the right side here. So we're going to select 5 rows here. That's more than enough. 5 by 5. Adjust the vertical spacing if needed. Again, 5 millimeters work very well for me. So now you have a 5 by 5 test grid. Each column represents a power value. And of course, the rows represent the speed value there. Let's double check there that we have the power set the way we did it here through the shape properties. Yeah, looking good. Now we have to send each row to its own layer. So we select the first row and select here layer number 1 down the bottom. And then we repeat the same for all the other rows. So the next row goes to the next layer. And the reason we're doing this is so that each layer or each row can have a different speed. So we're going to assign our speed values here. So we're going to open the first layer, double click, and we will start with the first speed. For speed on a 40-watt laser, my grids tend to be starting from 100 millimeters per second to 200 millimeters per second. I'm using millimeters per second. Some folks use millimeters per minute. Some other folks use inches. The point is, be mindful of those numbers, because if you're going to use some of the settings to do your own material test array, make sure you're using the same seconds or minutes, millimeters or inches, okay? Otherwise, you have a huge mess coming up. Ask me how I know. We use 100, the next layer 125, 150, 175 for the next one, and 200. So we just confirm again which layer is which layer and what number speed we have there. You can right-click on one of the layers just to see which one is which one. I tend to forget and get them mixed up, so I use this a lot, and you can click there on Flash Shapes in Current Layer. And that will tell you which layer is which. And of course, you know, the line interval, sometimes called DPI or LPC, lines per centimeter, all that stuff. Be mindful of what you're reading, be mindful of what you're watching, and just double check it with your own settings or your own configuration. We check our grid one more time. We make sure that the array fits inside the material reference there, our tray. We make sure that every column has the right power scale and that every row has the right speed layer. Make sure that we got our interval. I turn off Air Assist when it comes to SLATE. You can watch some of my other videos there to hear the explanation there, but it's supposed to help with the contrast. Now, I'm very careful with my material. Often I don't engrave the labels, like the speed label or the power label, and I use the grid there in the software as my reference. Often what I do once I'm done engraving, I pick the settings that I like the best, and then on the back of the slate with a white marker, I write down the power and speed combination that I like the most. Normally I pick 2 or 3 because then I do another grid with only 2 or 3, making the image a little bigger so it's easier to see the differences. And then I write that down. Again, I'm just trying to save stone. I often engrave on both sides of the stone, so I try to find a little space there to write down the settings that I like. But yeah, this is basically it. It is definitely more manual work than some of the newer software that I use, right? But it still gets it done. And once you build it, it becomes very repeatable. And of course, you can change it there for different pictures, materials, and laser powers. That's the idea. Don't copy my numbers blindly. You can use them as a starting point, and you can build your own test material. All right, that's about it. Just wanted to show you guys how I put together this material test array using Lightburn. I hope it helps. And if it does, let me know in the comments. The algorithm tends to recommend those videos where they see people interacting and leaving comments. One of your questions was the inspiration for this video, so keep them coming. I love engraving slate stone, and if you guys love it too, or you want to know more about it, check out this video where I talk all about my setup, the prep, and I do some comparison between different coatings and prep methods. As always, I'm happy you're here. My name is Alex for Severna Builds. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.